Stuck in quarantine? Don't worry, me and Sean from Blue Bantha Milk Company have you covered, talking about all things current event in the Star Wars universe. All this and more on Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge, and tonight my co-pilot is Sean from the Blue Bantha Milk Company, all the way from Australia. How are you, my friend?
I'm good as I can be in this current world, but I'm okay. I'm going a little bit mad because I've been quarantined for 2 weeks because I was in South Africa 2 weeks ago. And then my quarantine's just come to an end, and then the company I work for have just told me that I need to continue working from home. So the isolation continues. It never ends.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was going to ask you because, we were originally supposed to record about a month ago, and at that time, sadly, all the fires were still kind of, this is one of the things I want to ask you, because it seems like that's kind of died down, but I wanted to see, has it? Or is it just one of those, unfortunately, now the coronavirus has taken kind of the headlines now? How is everything kind of in your country?
The fires I think the last fire got under control a few weeks ago. So that's sort of, they're just rebuilding in terms of that. And because the summer's sort of coming to an end now, it's going to get a lot easier. It's not going to be as dry and all that. But it has just instantly segged into the coronavirus thing. And our inefficient and idiotic government can't seem to decide what they want to do. So it just keeps changing day by day. And it's just a real adventure just to see how people handle this kind of thing, and each day going to the supermarket and finding a particular item has completely been totally sold out. So, pasta or rice or toilet paper, obviously, or
yes.
And it's also interesting to see what you can still get. So, I stocked up on fish fingers because they were there. It's okay, well, I better get a load of those because I like fish fingers, and that's a good one to keep frozen and all that. It's pretty nuts. I'm sure it's the same way you are, but it's just very interesting to see how people have reacted, and the sort of slow burn realization that it's more serious than we thought it was. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, because I'll say the world, for me, changed this week. And that's the week of, the 16th through the, 20th of March, where it was Monday, it was okay, it's getting a bit serious, to every day it was kind of okay, this is this may happen. Okay, yes, we are looking at this. Okay, you're finally, it's been crazy because, as I've kind of said on various podcasts of my own, I work in visual effects, and that is very difficult when all your security doesn't really allow you to work remotely.
Yeah, of course.
And so kind of, bless them, our kind of technical people have been working diligently around the clock for the last kind of 2 weeks, luckily building contingency plans and all this kind of thing, and editorial and tech and kind of the technical jobs were kind of the last ones out of the building. So, some people have been working from home since Tuesday. Yeah. So I literally found out about 8 hours ago that they're don't come in on Monday. And I actually took my desk chair with me. I cleared it. I made sure I was okay, because I don't have a desk chair, and they're going to be quite expensive, and right now there's a shortage of them because everybody's working from home. So I just cleared it with facilities, and I was I'm taking my desk chair. Now, what people may not know, or you may not know, is I live about an hour and a half away from London. So I literally took a cab from my work to a train station, because obviously getting an Uber all the way to door to door was going to be something like £167.
Oh, wow.
And so I basically took an Uber to the train station, rolled the chair on the train, because there's nobody on the trains now, because they basically told people for 4 days, don't travel. Don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. So I didn't have to worry about people. And then literally then got a cab from the train station. Some people were like, you've just made my day. That's hilarious. Other people were just like, what is wrong with you? But yeah. So it's like...
That's it. I've seen people carrying like full computer monitors down the street because they're like, well, I don't have, it's not like, for me, I got back from South Africa and then I got back on Saturday. And then on the Sunday, my boss phoned me and said, oh, you're going to have to be quarantined for 2 weeks so you can start working from home from the Monday. And I was like, cool. How? How do I do that?
Yeah.
There's no, I don't know. So so it has to be like, again, like you say, all these like technical things. And yeah, no real preparation for it. It's mad. Absolutely mad.
It is. If you don't mind me asking, Sean, what is your day job?
Oh, I work at a bookshop. I work that sells educational textbooks to schools for teaching English as an additional language. So I'm one of the consultants who kind of goes out. It's really boring because my job usually involves quite a lot of travel, but now I can't travel anywhere. So I've become more of like a phone salesperson now, which is less fun. But yeah, it's been very interesting. All the schools, like you phone them up and you're like, oh, how are things going? And they're just completely like we don't know. We might be open tomorrow, might be closed, might be this, might be that. We just try and help them out where we can. And yeah, it's wild. It's very unpredictable. This week has been like every day it's changed our plans. It's mad.
Yeah. I mean, it was very interesting, like on like tonight, or I should say now this morning or yesterday, that it was just kind of like we're like, okay, I guess this is goodbye for we don't know how long, because that's the other thing, we haven't been told where it's like when we're coming back, if we're coming back, what's going on. So all I'll say, because obviously I'm trying to be mindful and not insensitive to people, but it's like I am grateful that we are able to work from home, because I do know there's a lot of people that were like, okay, you won't have a job next week. Good luck. So hearts and thoughts all to everybody, and hope everybody is staying safe. So tonight we're going to just have a lovely little podcast and chat kind of current events. So if you're a first-time listener or watcher to this podcast, this is Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge, and every episode we broadcast from a certain Canon planet or moon. And tonight's episode, we are heading to Bespin. And I'm going to hand it over to our resident Canon junkie, who is going to tell us a little bit about it.
Thanks, Shannon. Well, you're all looking beautiful. You truly belong with us among the clouds of Bespin. Bespin was an immense gas giant located in the vicinity of the Inoat system. A desolate sector of the galaxy, Bespin had several moons, and its gaseous mass contained a thin stratum of habitable atmosphere. Its layers were a source of rare Tabana gas, which was harvested and refined in several mining complexes, including Cloud City, an opulent metropolis suspended in the planet's huge billowing clouds. The Ugnaught city of Ugnorgrad, it's like Ugnaught, and it's like an Ugnaught city. Ugnorgrad was located over the planet, being ruled by King Oz in the time after the Battle of Endor. During the Galactic Civil War, Bespin remained unaffiliated, but that did not prevent the Galactic Empire from garrisoning the planet and seizing Cloud City. However, with the Empire's defeat at Endor, the gas giant and its prosperous mining colony ended up recovering their freedom. Bespin appears in The Empire Strikes Back, in the mobile game Star Wars Uprising, in Battlefront 2, and in many, many other canon novels and series. Guys, this is Jerry the Canon Junkie, your navigator. Shannon, back to you.
Great, thanks for that, Jerry. So, Sean, why did we choose Bespin? Why was Bespin kind of your canon planet of choice?
It's actually quite interesting because I was thinking about it today and I was trying to think why, and it just sort of struck me that it's such a weird planet in the in the sort of Star Wars universe, because it's like a fairy tale planet. You know, it's like castles floating in the sky and all that, and it happens in such a weird point of like Empire's quite a dark movie, and then this big dark climax happens in this really pretty, almost heavenly place, and I just found it was such a cool. I like cool high concept ideas. Like, okay, you know, we've got this planet. It's made of gas, so the way they mine it is they have these cloud cities that absorb all the gas and that, and whether that's scientifically accurate, who cares? And yeah, it's just like it just floats around and everyone's just living on these things, and yeah, it just felt like it was like something out of you know, like Studio Ghibli or something, just like this floating,
Nice.
yeah, this floating world in the clouds, and yeah, that's it. I really like it. I think it's very cool, and it's one of the only special edition changes that I'm really about is all the Cloud City stuff. Like, they really went in and said, right, let's boost this up and make it really cool. And it does work really well. It's very different to like the Mos Eisley changes, which diminish the experience, where the Cloud City ones, you're like, yeah, no, this is cooler. This is much cooler.
No, I would agree with that. And actually, that's a really good kind of point. But yeah, they actually made it more of an open space, where obviously in the original one there was a lot of, you know, it was just hallways and corridors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like there's that famous one where it's like a low angle and they're all three of them are kind of running towards camera, and it has now this like orange tinge to it, and they've like made it like almost seem like they're running on a balcony now, and it was really kind of, obviously the visual effect nerd in me geeks out, where I'm like, that was really kind of the first time we're like, oh wow, we can really change things up here, kind of thing. So that's really cool. That's a really cool point. And of course you have like the coolest cat in the galaxy running it, Lando Calrissian. So nice.
Yeah, it's good. Like the new Star Wars comics have sort of they've had the return to Cloud City. They've gone back and all that. So that's been quite interesting to read. I've got another one of those to read that came out this week.
Nice.
So that's good, because that's an interesting sort of thing that you never really go back there in the movies until the end of Rise of Skywalker, for, you know, the whatever nostalgia shot of the Star Destroyer falling in the background. You're like, oh yeah, that place, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also was always drawn to the original like Ralph McQuarrie concept art.
Yeah.
Of it, and I remember seeing actually like behind the scenes footage of him painting it, and the way like he was measuring the little like towers and things like that. And also it's a pretty like badass level in Battlefront 2 in the single player campaign, where you have to like take out all these towers and things in Bespin, and it was also kind of neat to kind of go back to it, but then it's after, like, yeah, I don't know, it's a really different, I would say it's probably one of the most different planets out there. Yeah, because it's like this gas giant kind of thing. It's like it's like the Jupiter of the Star Wars universe, I think.
That's it. It's like it's the one, like, because obviously the planets in Star Wars are very much like one terrain, aren't they? It's like, this is desert, this is ice, this is forest, or whatever. But it's interesting to have something that's like an existing planet and say, well, actually, yeah, if we wanted to mine Jupiter, this is how we do it. Or maybe we would. This is how we would do it in a fantasy world. You know, this is the coolest way to do it. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to first introduce you and things is to ask you kind of what your show is about, and like what your voice in the Star Wars fandom is. How did it come about? What do you kind of do? And just kind of tell the listeners all about it.
Yep. So Blue Bantha Milk Co. is it's co-hosted by me and Matt. And Matt is a full-blood Australian, whereas I grew up in England and moved here like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
So we met on like a Facebook page that Matt ran, and he'd just started the channel and made a few videos, and we ended up just like chatting on the page, and then we ended up going out for a beer, And we were having a beer and all that, and then we were talking about I was talking about his channel. So then I guested on it and was on a few videos, and yeah, we just hit it off. So we were like, okay, well, why don't you just stay and be the co-host, and we'll see how it goes. And that was about 18 months ago.
Nice.
And it's been cool. It's like it's a fun way to reach out to this community and all that, and we've kept it all very much a sense of like we're trying to be as positive an influence as possible, because there's obviously so much nonsense negativity out there, so we're trying to be against that as much as possible, and just try to do cool, interesting things, and get guests on as much as possible and see what other people are thinking. And it's fun, and it's a nice hobby, and it's we've always sort of tried to be like, okay, well, what does Star Wars mean in the world? What does it mean in the world of pop culture? What does it mean in terms of how people enjoy it and all that? And it's been fascinating, like sort of the insights you get when you talk to people about the movies, and they'll sort of pick one thing and say, oh, I like it because of this, this, and this. And you're like, oh yeah, that is a really cool thing. And it changes your own experience of it. Like, so that's something I do really enjoy. And it's doing well. Like, I think we just hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so that's a bit of a milestone. And we're just going from there and just making more videos. So yeah.
Nice. I have to say, you also have like some of the best looking like merchandise. I know that sounds ridiculous, but just I love the logo and just everything, and I was really drawn to it, and I was just like, oh, that's really, really like badass. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. I'm very happy that because that was all done before I got there, and then I was like, yeah, I think I'd won a T-shirt or something in a competition on the Facebook, and that's what you know what, that's exactly what happened. I won this T-shirt, and I was talking to Matt about when I was going to collect it, and he was like, oh, I'm in the city, you're in the city, let's go out for have a beer. And he gave me the T-shirt, and I was just like, yeah, like I was peacocking around with this cool logo, just like, yeah, this is a very cool thing that no one else has. And it's cool because I've seen people on the street wearing them as well, which is pretty amazing. Like, I drove past someone in a cab, and I was just like, what?
Oh my God, that would be the day. I would love to have someone like walk past me in the streets of London, and I'll see like one of the postcards, and I'll be like, hey, that's pretty cool. That's really cool.
That's been awesome. Yeah.
So just kind of talking some current events, like one that literally just happened, get your opinions on. What are you thinking about this rumored Rosario Dawson as casted as Ahsoka Tano in season 2 of The Mandalorian?
I'm all over it. I think it's great, but it's that sort of thing of you gotta take slash film are pretty good for this kind of thing. It's not like comic book news or we got this covered where it's just a lie. You know, it's just a bald-faced lie. But it's just weird the way it's like, it's like they're announcing that she has been cast in season 2, but then like 2 weeks ago they announced that filming was finished on season 2.
Yes,
so I'm like,
okay,
is it just, have they mixed up the
this.
news? Should it have been like she was cast and she's filmed? It's just very strange the way it's all coming out now, as though it's like, oh, this is some brand new thing that's about to happen. You're like, no, well, unless it's for season 3, you've missed the boat, because season 2 just finished.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything, obviously, all filming. Yep.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was like, hang on a second, I know for a fact they literally have wrapped. There's no reshoots, nothing. So I'm so glad you've kind of picked that up, the timing and the wording, because I thought maybe that was just me being a little bit pedantic and things. So yeah, okay. But I'm just surprised, because that would have been a kind of massive reveal again. Like I was just chatting with the guys from Chronicles just earlier, and we were kind of like, well, you know, they kind of took away a big reveal, whereas like the Baby Yoda and how that kept secret and how that didn't leak and things like that. You know, that would have been great to just oh God, pardon me. You know, that would have been better to keep that a surprise. Like, oh my God, here's live action Ahsoka Tano. But hey, you know, I don't know. I just find it really like surprising.
Yeah, I mean, they've been very, very good with like that first season of Mandalorian. Like the things that they managed to sort of keep a secret, like the Darksaber and all that, but especially Baby Yoda. Like, if you watch any of the trailers, he's just not there at all. Oh, and it's genius. And then when he appeared at the end of the first episode, I was like, oh, okay, so the next episode will be whatever. But yeah, no, the baby is the co-lead of the show, and it's like they managed to keep it completely under wraps. And my housemate, because obviously we're all trapped in the house, he yesterday signed up for Disney Plus, like the trial, and then just disappeared into his room and then came out this morning and he was like, right, I've just watched all The Mandalorian, like, from episode 1 to episode 9 or whatever. And he's like, why did no one tell me about this baby? Because this is amazing. He's like, is it Yoda? But it's not Yoda because the timeline doesn't work. What species? And he's just following me around the house like, so Sean, what species is it? It's like, you must know. This is your thing.
That's hilarious. So you guys, okay, so you have Disney Plus in Australia.
Yeah, we got it when it first came out.
Oh, okay. We're finally getting it. Here's the funny thing. We're finally getting it in the UK. We're getting it on the 24th. It was originally going to be the 31st. They literally have just said, oh yeah, you're going to get episode 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. And I'm like, hang on a second. So we're literally still having to wait for it to come out episode by episode. I was like, it's already premiered. Just release them all. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm all for actually it releasing weekly when it's new, because like it's cool. It's something we can talk about. It keeps the what I call the water cooler discussion going on. But everybody's watched it. Like, I did the whole VPN thing. Everything. It was legal, but it was just like, I'm wearing a shirt, for God's sakes, that has the Baby Yoda on it that you can buy at Primark. I love that I can say the British things to you and you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, I know what Primark is.
Because I don't know if you have them in Australia.
We don't.
But, okay, there we go. So it's just kind of like this cultural phenomenon that, like, if you, hadn't seen it, you're just going to be like, what is this? And things. So going back to our original talking point, I was just surprised at how they kept it so secret. But now, kind of seeing the volume and how things were done on set, that it makes a little more sense. It wasn't this big fantastical set. It was definitely a more kind of closed, small set. I don't know. I do know that, like, Jon Favreau outright kind of went to all the toy makers and things and was like, look, I know you're going to want to, you have to trust me, please. Because usually let's be honest, it's usually the toy leaks, especially Lego, that's what spoils things. So, him being like, I'm begging you, you have to trust me. I know you're going to want to have merchandise and this guy the minute that premieres, but please, let's just wait. And they actually listened, and it worked. It genuinely worked. So I'm just surprised. This is why, like, I want to believe it. And people like Star Wars Newsnet, who really do a lot of fact checking, have kind of run with it and things like that. Not run with it, but have kind of also touched on it and things. But I just, Do you think they might do like a Ray Park, Sam Witwer kind of thing, where they have someone playing it, but then someone else voicing it for Ahsoka, where Rosario's the body, but Ashley is still the voice? What do you think?
No, I think Rosario Dawson's too big for that sort of thing. I think if I was Rosario Dawson and they said, we're going to have you play this part, but we're going to have a white woman come in and do the voice instead, you'd be like, ooh. Oh,
yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Because it's not, because the thing with Ray Park is, and I love Ray Park, but he's a stuntman, who just looks very cool. And I know actually with that, they did get, I don't know the full story of this, but I think they got Peter Serafinowicz, who did the original voice.
Yes. And
he did a version of it, and then they changed it for Sam Witwer's, I think, or something. Yeah. I think he did do the solo voice, and then they got rid of it. But yeah, I think Rosario Dawson's enough of a name in her own right to carry it. Of course, if she's in the show, I'm sure there'll be people on Twitter ripping their own heads off because how dare they, blah, 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 blah. But
already.
Well, that's the thing. Like, as I said to you, I deleted my Twitter like 2 weeks ago, and Shannon, I never looked back.
Oh, fair enough.
So nice. It's nice to be able to enjoy things without anyone telling me that I shouldn't. It's nice to kind of like, because when I was overseas, the announcement for the Star Wars: The High Republic came out.
Oh yes, we will talk about this as well. Yes.
We will, yes. So I just saw a headline, I clicked on it, and I read the story, and I watched the video, and I was like, "That's brilliant!" And then that was it. And I didn't have to do that thing of going on Twitter and hearing every single person's takes on how it's good, how it's bad, how it's this, how it's that. It's like, yes, I can take this and absorb the information, make my own opinions, walk away. It's real nice. It's a real nice change of pace.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, I know when I was trying to like find our old thread and everything, I was like, oh no, it's missing. I was like, okay. My first thought was like, oh no, is he okay? What has happened? And then my second thought was, oh crap, have I done something? Because when you get blocked or whatever, all that disappears. So I was like, I don't think I said any hot takes or anything. But luckily your co-host was very gracious. I was like, oh yes, I'll get you in touch. I was like, thank you.
Oh yeah, no, that was the thing. I was umming and ahhing about, because I before I went on holiday, I was like, right, I'm just going to delete it, not have Twitter while I'm away. And then by the time the holiday came to an end, I was like, yeah, I haven't thought about it at all, and it has been bad for my mental health, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And then the thing was, I was going to go on and do a whole thing of like, oh, I'm leaving, and this is why, and I was going to message everyone. In the end, I was just like, nope. I put a tweet that said goodbye, good luck, deactivated it, and just said to Matt, tell everyone I've left. And that was it. Because you just get into a thing of delaying. I was like, no, if I start getting into this and talking to people, I won't leave. So I'm out.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And I mean, that's actually quite admirable, and things that, I mean, you got to do you. So I'm just glad you're okay. I was worried something happened or what. So, but yeah, you do you. Absolutely. But to kind of touch on what you just mentioned, yes, let's talk about the High Republic and things, like just kind of your general thoughts. What are you excited about? Just anything and everything.
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's it's almost like Star Wars have taken a lesson from like Star Trek and saying like, okay, well, we've got this particular time period, so this is whatever, and now we're going to start a whole new thing in a different time period, which will involve the first one but not be beholden to the same continuity and rules and things like that. We can tell whole new stories and also try and bring in a whole new audience. Like, I'm not a massive Star Trek fan, but I'll dip in and out.
Yeah.
But like, I've just started watching that Star Trek Picard, and I really like it. But online, everyone's sort of talking about how it betrays this, betrays that. I'm like, yeah, I've watched like 4 episodes of Next Generation, a couple of the movies. I'm enjoying this. It's fine. And this is my little bit of Star Trek. And for some people in the future, that it'll probably be a case of they'll have, oh yeah, you've got the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. That's one thing. And you've got the High Republic, and maybe there'll be another thing, and people can just have their little bit that they like. And I think it's cool. I think it's a very smart way to keep it alive. Because I know a lot of people, when you kind of, when you'd be on Twitter or Facebook and say, interacting as the group and say, what do you want to see in the future of Star Wars? A lot of people are like, oh, I want to move away from the Skywalkers. Now, that was a big thing of like, yeah, I feel like that's done. Let's see something brand new. And this looks like that's what it's going to be. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it turns out. Like, if it moves from comics and books into TV or movies. And I think it's a cool time period to have a look at. And it looks like they're doing some really cool stuff. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I was very excited about like the announcement, and just I know it sounds ridiculous. I loved the little promo video that they did and kind of explaining it, and I loved seeing the kind of round table kind of discussions and kind of these like new voices of the Star Wars universe in the last kind of 5-6 years, maybe a bit longer, obviously, because that's just the films and it was a bit longer. So I understand there'll be some fans that are a bit nervous about that, because there are some who don't like kind of the Star Wars era since like the Disney acquisition, but I just loved also just seeing so many different kinds of voices, definitely lots of different cultures and walks of life, which means for me, that's going to be a lot of different storytelling and exciting storytelling, because you're not just going to get the basically what I call the Arthurian legend setup. You're going to get a lot of different stories. I mean, I guess also Star Wars has also always dipped into kind of Japanese storytelling. I mean, The Mandalorian, look at The Mandalorian, is very much kind of the old samurai and the wolf pup, or child. I mean, it's so that's also very much is kind of still in there. But I'm just very excited, and I loved seeing all those little bullet points on the board and people kind of talking about it, and especially people were like dinosaurs. I'm like, guys, I'm pretty sure they're meaning like they want big creatures, kind of like the rancors and things like that, and then mythosaurs. But I think that's what they're meaning, not literal dinosaurs. But
I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for it. I think the other thing I was actually quite excited was on the cover seeing a blonde female Jedi.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, every serious Star Wars heroine has been brunette and British, which, don't get me wrong, I'm totally behind that. But I was just like, oh my God, that's me. Like, there we go, finally. So I know it sounds so ridiculous, but like, yeah, I was just like, heck yeah. I think it's like, what's her name? I think she does have a name. It's not Ajan Kloss, because that's a planet, but it's something like that. There's a K and an A in there somewhere. But yeah, and I do think that this was going to tie in to the Benioff and Weiss projects that just kind of stopped, kind of thing. There's a better breakdown. Some other podcasts have kind of put the speculation out a bit better. I can't paraphrase it really well, but I do think it was going to tie into their project, and I think they're like, well, that project is kind of on hold or like getting reworked, but we've done so much with these authors to help build this new era. Do you know what? Let's just keep with it and just see what happens. So I'm all for it. It's actually going to make a reader out of me. I don't read very well because I'm dyslexic, but yeah, I'm very excited, and I like the idea of like space Vikings, and like it's gonna be very different. Yeah. But I think they always need kind of something. It's like that old saying, something old, something new, something blue. And this is where I think the speculation of, is a younger Yoda going to be in it? But I think that would be a bit, I don't know. I wonder what you think, because I mean, I'm concerned you don't want too much quote Yoda, because we have obviously quote baby Yoda or tiny, as in this is not Yoda. In there. But I don't know, having another creature like that and another property, I'm concerned it might be a bit oversaturated. But I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be a nice sort of thing to have like young in his prime Yoda. If that is in his prime. I don't know how they age. Yes. But at the same time, you don't want Yoda to become like... I guess I use the comic book analogy of like, Wolverine in the 90s, where he was just everywhere, and then like... Or Harley Quinn now, where just every comic has to find a way to put her in, and Marvel has to find a way to put Deadpool and everything and all that. You don't want to find this weird thing where just like Yoda's just in every trilogy and every story, just finds his way in. But at the same time, sort of like, it'd be interesting to see him as like a Jedi Knight, I guess, and to sort of have a little bit of that and see what he was like as a sort of... Was he ever a cocky youngster? Was he always very stoic and cool and all that? But I think it seems to be that the main, like I was saying before, the main sort of core of this is like brand new. Bring in new readers, bring in new an audience, start from scratch, start a whole new thing. And I think it is sort of like the Star Trek analogy is what I'm sticking with, of like, this is your little... Well, Doctor Who, I think, would be a good analogy as well. Like, for some people, I started watching Doctor Who in like 2005 with Chris Eccleston, like the eighth Doctor or whatever. No, ninth Doctor. But other people have only just started watching now for Jodie Whittaker, and that's their start. And you see tons of people where it's like, oh, I was watching it in the 70s, so Tom Baker's my Doctor and all that. And this could end up being a similar thing of like, there will be people who are like, I didn't really like the Skywalker thing, but the High Republic, yeah, that's my Star Wars. That's what I'm all about. And I think that's a cool way to sort of cynically to keep the brand alive, to keep it making money and keep it interesting. But also it looks like rather than just cynically throwing something together, they've brought in writers who have been involved with Star Wars for quite a long time. Some of them wrote books for the EU. They've written visual dictionaries, they've written kids' books, they've written young adult books, and given them the sort of playground to say, okay, we are X amount of years before the Skywalker saga. What do you want to see? Go nuts. And that looks like that's what they've done. So it's exciting. I can't see it failing. I can see the same people who are dickheads now being dickheads then, but that's up to them.
Yeah. No, I like the Star Trek analogy because it's funny. I remember watching The Next Generation as a kid, kind of thing. That was, quote, my Star Trek and things. And I also really enjoyed the J.J. Abrams film, and that's why I was actually really excited when I heard he was going to do Star Wars. I was like, well, he really made me go to Star Trek, because I've always loved Star Wars. Star Trek, I've kind of gone in and out, but I always felt it was too regulated, right? I loved the outlaw nature of kind of the Star Wars universe. Yeah. But what I will say with now Discovery, which is, I forget, I mean, now we're going to deal with, it's on different things for different countries. For us in the UK, like Discovery is on Netflix, or no, one's Netflix. On Netflix and one's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so Discovery's Netflix and Picard's Amazon.
Thank you, because I know in America it's slightly different, but but Picard, I like Discovery, it just was too much with this alternate universe, and I sometimes feel alternate universe like storytelling is a bit lazy. I don't know. I say that with a very grain of salt. That's just my hot take.
I will say, sorry to interrupt, have you ever watched Fringe?
Now, Fringe was good.
So I think Fringe is the high mark for me in terms of alternate universes. I've never found anything else that's done it as good as that, because that did it very well.
Yes, I would agree with that. And 110%. And yeah, it felt different, but you weren't confused. You weren't like, who are
Who's
you?
Who
Which
and why are they there?
Yeah, so no, that's actually a really good point. Thank you for that.
No, of course.
But yeah, so I just couldn't really get behind Discovery, and it's really bizarre because I understand you want to try something fresh, but like they're outright talking about like sexuality and having sex scenes and things like that, or implied sex scenes. I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this. Okay. Whereas like Picard, it still throws me off because there was some swearing. I was just like, oh, I was like, whoa, okay. But I don't know. Maybe it's because, Patrick Stewart can just, love that man. And maybe because I have that tie to the Next Generation, and that's why it made me think, do we need that kind of familiar to help kind of bring back those old fans? But wrap up, like on this magical mystery tour, I definitely agree. There's like this different kind of, there's a Star Trek for everyone. So I'm definitely digging Picard. But yeah, Discovery, I was just like, okay, meh.
Yeah, I'm the same. I couldn't get into... I have a very specific thing. It's like, I really like the episodes of Next Generation that deal with Picard becoming a Borg. And I really like those. So I really liked the movie First Contact, and then I really liked Picard because it has a bit of that. So it's like, okay, I'm still watching this same story over the course of a variety. It's been like a 20-year thing of just like zigging and zagging in and out of things. And it's just still going. And that's what keeps me in. I have that very specific story that I like, and I just like following that. But whatever works.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. So that to make it back to Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
No, not you, but just yeah. So that's why I'm very excited to see what the High Republic brings, and yeah, like also I know some people were like, oh, but it's only like 200 years before the events of the prequels. I'm like, yeah, but again, that's okay, because I felt like if it was like thousands of years, there's this like disconnect where you're like, well, wait, this technology, I mean, think about mankind 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. So I feel 200 years is a bit more comfortable, because then you could also, I liked like the bulletin board said rival households, which made me obviously think of like Romeo and Juliet and Game of Thrones. So you can have your Dooku's, your Kenobis, you know, your Jins. So that's also your familiar, I can't even say it, but it's kind of those family names. And so you're like, oh, okay, this is so-and-so, or I don't know. I'm very excited, and I've got the first book pre-ordered already, ready to go. And yeah, can't wait to talk about it. But
yeah, it's a whole other topic.
Oh yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Gonna start a whole thing.
Yeah. So have you, speaking of like whole other things and whatnot, have you been watching the Clone Wars? And how are you taking it? How are you liking it? If you have been.
I have, yes. I've watched the first 4. I haven't watched the newest one, which I think... Oh, it might not be out yet. Or maybe it is. But I've only watched the first 4. And I sort of... And I love the Clone Wars. I thought the Clone Wars was amazing. It actually sort of got me back into Star Wars after a period where I drifted. And then I actually did a podcast with someone about the Clone Wars, and they were sort of persuading me to watch it, and they sent me the chronological episode order from StarWars.com. Nice. So I watched them all over the course of quite a while. They were all on Netflix for a bit, so I watched them all, and you know, like my nieces watched a few of them with me and stuff like that, and I just sort of always had it on, and it changed. It reminded me how it made the prequels better, basically. I think it's sort of like that period. I was like, okay, cool. So in my head, I was like, if I just look at the prequels as being like not as good like story arcs for the Clone Wars, it improves them. And then I sort of like got me back into it. But yeah, no, I've been loving the new series. I was a bit off on the Bad Batch. I was like, these characters are quite cheesy and one note and a bit annoying, but then they got really good. And then have you watched it?
No, not yet, but you could please tell me. If I'm quite honest, I actually haven't watched like all the previous series of the Clone Wars. I know kind of the important like hot points and like about Ahsoka leaving the Order and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I know a bit, so you're not going to spoil anything, so go ahead.
Okay, cool. Well, it reminded me that like, because Resistance and Rebels got there in the end, but like they never went quite as dark as the Clone Wars could get. Like the Clone Wars is a very dark show, and the end of this arc has like Anakin just kills someone in not necessarily cold blood, but he does it in a kind of cold-blooded way. Like he's very casually just kills someone. And he's sort of provoked into doing it, but the relish that he takes in doing it, and you're like, God damn, that is dark for a kid's show.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like, the thing I've always said about the Clone Wars is like, when I was a kid, every TV show always, like, all the cartoons veered away from violence and no one ever died and da-da-da. And I was like, yeah, this is the show I wanted. This is when I was watching cartoons as a kid. I was always like, no, I can handle things. Give me someone getting killed. Give me actual consequences. And then watching the Clone Wars as a 30-year-old man, I was like, God damn it. This is the cartoon I wanted. Yeah. I'll just watch it now. Fine. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to like the last arc of this season is going to be the Siege of Mandalore, and we've all been waiting for that. And it's like hinted at in different books, and the Ahsoka book talks about it, and it's going to explain. Well, it'll help explain where Maul's been between Clone Wars to Solo. No, am I wrong? I think I'm wrong. Where the timeline that gets him to Rebels, I guess. No.
Yeah, because I guess Rebels.
Yeah, sorry, I'm wrong. Yeah. No, it's Clone Wars. So we don't know where Maul went from Clone Wars to Solo. And then we don't really know how we went from Solo to Rebels.
Yeah.
So there's like those 2 missing gaps, and this will hopefully fill one of them in, I think.
Yeah.
Unless I've got that completely mixed up.
No, I think you're right the second time. So no,
Yeah.
I think you're right. Because, that's why it's like Solo is before A New Hope. I think it's like 8 years before A New Hope or something. And of course, Rebels is just kind of right before that, like, I think. Because I know there's that famous scene that in the Twin Sons where and he's watching Luke. So you have your time. You have your timeline.
I do have my timeline right. Yes.
You were good.
Okay, good. Yes. But yeah, no. So that's been something I've been looking forward to, and whether. Because there's always that thing, like I had the same thing with Rebels where I was like, I felt like Rebels was going to end with the Battle of Scarif. I was like, this is going to end right up to Rogue One. And then Dave Filoni was sort of like, no, we're not telling that story. Rogue One's telling that story. We're telling our own story and we'll just end where we end. I was like, yeah, that's fair. So then the same thing's happening with Clone Wars. Everyone's like, oh, this is going to end with the Emperor.
Order 66.
With Order 66 or with Palpatine getting kidnapped, so it'll lead directly into Revenge of the Sith. And you're like, yeah, but maybe not. Maybe again, it'll be the same thing. It'll get you to a certain point, and then there'll be a bit of a gap, and you'll just have to take for granted, work it out for yourself.
Yeah, which that might be good, but no, I'm excited. I'm definitely going to catch up on all of it once we get our Disney Plus next week.
Yes.
And things, because I do feel almost like a slight fraud where it's like, I know so much now about the animated shows, but I haven't really watched them. And it's like, oh, you can't really be a Star Wars podcast and not seen the animated stuff, like... Yeah. It's like, I played the video games. I can tell you all about, The Force Unleashed. I waited in line at, midnight 10 years ago, 12 years ago to get it. But, I did not really watch the animated shows. So,
they're definitely
work on that.
They're more good than bad. I would say Resistance... I don't know what Resistance was for, if that makes any sense. Like, I thought it was building to something, and then it never really did, and then it just ended. And I was like, I feel like, I don't know. Again, I was just sort of like, what's this show for? What is it? But Rebels is amazing. Clone Wars is fantastic.
Yeah. I think the thing with Resistance, and I think this is the biggest Achilles heel, in my opinion, to the sequel trilogy, is there's no passage of time. Like, with Clone Wars, there's a massive jump between episode 1 and 2, and then a massive jump between 2 and 3 kind of thing. So you have this time to fill in other stories. Whereas with, it was a cool idea and it was never done before, but having literally one film start right after the other in the sequel trilogy, I think really kind of hurt it in terms of character development, in terms of, what's going on kind of thing. So, it was a cool, like, hey, that's really cool that one film is literally leading off from the other, but then the kind of the bigger ripple effects down the pond is like, oh man. But so to my point, like, it kind of goes the same for Resistance. Like, it just was like, it was cool when it was starting to, like, events were starting to overlap with, oh, here's that speech from Hux. And, oh, here's Kylo Ren. Oh, here's Captain Phasma. But it just was kind of like, like, I don't know. But that's just my kind of hot take on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the take everyone's got of just... I don't know. It was just such a weird show. Like, because when it got to the final episode and it ended, I was just like, oh, yeah, I guess it's over now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, and that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is quite weird to have, because there's so many like extra things that fill in the gaps, obviously, in Star Wars, and but it's weird to just have that Force Awakens Last Jedi thing where there's just nothing. You can't force anything between them. Whereas there was tons of, like, Resistance Reborn and Spark of Resistance and all that between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and then obviously now the comics are all between Empire and Jedi, and then they were between New Hope and Empire and so on. And my favorite period of Star Wars is that anything that fits in that gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. Rebels and Jedi Fallen Order and well, anything that's like all the Darth Vader comics and that, like the Purge, all that period. I love that because that's the real, like you were saying before, that's the real masterless samurai Jedi. You know, any Jedi that's hiding or they're kind of like righting wrongs on a desert planet, you know, that kind of stuff. And that's right where my interest is. Like, I love that stuff. Like, I just finished Jedi Fallen Order this week.
Oh,
and
nice.
I thought it was really cool, and I just love that area where it's, you know, you're a Jedi, but you've been the best thing in the world, the universe, and now you are just like nothing. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I'm that's on my list now that I'm gonna be kind of home more. Is finally playing Jedi Fallen Order, because I thought I was getting it for Christmas and then just didn't happen, and I've just been so busy and things with work, and then I was just like, yeah, I'll probably stream it, and people will be like, hey, this game like came out 6 months ago. I was like, don't care, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because I love the, like, you know, I loved The Force Unleashed 1 and 2 and things like that. So when I saw the gameplay play at last year's E3, that I was just like, yes, I am so for this. So I cannot wait. Absolutely cannot wait.
It's great. It's a lot more sort of like platformy and puzzly than I was expecting, but I'm really into that.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's cool.
Yeah, because I love Uncharted, and I love the new Tomb Raider kind of thing. So very excited. So hopefully soon.
Yeah.
And we'll get playing with that. But so is there anything else you kind of wanted to talk about, Sean? This is kind of our general discussion kind of episode. I think we kind of covered High Republic, kind of some breaking news, and anything else to kind of chat about?
Not really. I think that's all the news that's fit to print, isn't it? It's
yeah.
My current sort of thing at the moment is I randomly Matt, my co-host, put me onto a job writing the narrative for tabletop RPGs.
Oh, interesting.
Which would not have been anything I would have considered, and he just like saw it somewhere and he was like, have a look at this. And I ended up applying for the job, but I was saying like I haven't played a tabletop RPG I've never actually played it.
Ever.
You know,
yeah.
Never. So it's this whole thing now where I'm trying to like, you know, I've been in the game shop in the city, like looking through core books and source books and all that. And I'm just like, I feel like I know what this is. Okay, I know what this is. So I went on YouTube and I was like Googling it, I was like YouTubing videos about it. And I was like, no, now I feel like I'm moving further away from it. Now I don't understand it. So I'm focused on, there's a Star Wars game called Edge of Rebellion.
Oh.
And you can get like a beginner's set. And it's basically, I think it's set during the original trilogy and you play as the rebels and all that. So that's what I'm sort of, at the moment, I'm trying to it's sold out everywhere and I'm trying to get it. So that's my current events in terms of Star Wars, is trying to get this like tabletop RPG and then find a bunch of people to play it with me during a period in history where we're not allowed to be in the same room as people.
Yeah.
So that's stopping me at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting time where it's just like all of a sudden it's like I always describe myself as an extroverted introvert. Like I can do social situations, I'm great, but if I want to recharge my batteries, this is how I always say for people to see if they're introvert or extrovert. I prefer to be at home, kind of on my own or with my better half. I don't need to go out in social situations to recharge. But so I think, I mean, I haven't even had day one yet, but it will be interesting to see how I get on. But I think just continuing, you know, talking with great people like yourself and things, and just kind of see what happens, because I don't think any of us have had this in our lifetime ever.
No,
like,
no, not at all.
No. But I'm just glad to hear that at least things are slightly calming down in your native country, because I mean, gosh, though, to go from like, yeah, we have pretty much the whole country is on fire to now pretty much the whole country's getting sick. It's just like, oh man, like poor Australia.
Yeah, no, it was pretty nuts. Like, cause we had, like I live in Melbourne. And the fires didn't get here, but the smoke did. So we did have like terrible air quality and stuff like that. So yeah, it was nuts. I was like driving to work with a bunch of my coworkers because you couldn't walk because you couldn't have that much sustained time in it. But yeah, no, and then that sort of, just as that cleared, this started. And just before the fires, there were floods. It's been just one after another.
Oh, well, I'm glad to still hear you. You're here. You're in good spirits.
That's it.
And you just keep trucking on. And yeah, where can they find you, Sean? And your co-host and podcast and things.
Yep. So, well, as I said, I'm no longer on Twitter, but Matt is. So if you go to, Matt is, but the channel is specifically. So if you go to @Blue Bantha Milk, I think. Let me just quickly check that just to make sure. Yes, it is. So @Blue Bantha Milk, that's our Twitter. Go on YouTube, search up Blue Bantha Milk Co. and obviously like and subscribe if you like it. And check out our Facebook as well, because we're kind of doing some cool things on there. In my downtime being stuck at home, I've taken to just making terrible memes. So that's been a lot of fun.
Nice.
And asking the big questions. So I've done a bit of a series this week where I've said to people, if you could make one alteration to any of the prequels, what would you change? The originals, the sequels, and the spin-offs. Like each day's been a different thing. And I've got a wide answers that have been great, answers that have been terrible, some abuse, some people who have mixed up the movies, a lot of hatred for Jar Jar. That's come up quite a bit.
Again.
Yeah, so that comes back up. But then some people have said more Jar Jar, so that's pretty good. A few kind of like petty, bitchy comments, I was like, what would you change? And someone said, if I made it, I'd hire people who could act. Like, all right, take it down a notch.
Yeah, it's like, okay, go back to your corner.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's been interesting. Like, a few people have said some cool things. We're going to make actually a video about it. Me and Matt, we're going to put together some of the best ones and share them with everyone. Because, yeah, there's some very interesting ones. Some people, I think, with the sequels would rather that they just adapted one of the EU books directly word for word. A few people have said, at the end it should be Luke and Leia fighting the Emperor instead of Ben Solo and Rey. You're like, yeah. I'm sure what cinema goers want is two 60-year-olds having a sword fight with an old man, as opposed to like young, good-looking, great actors doing it. Also, obviously by this point in the narrative, Luke's dead, and obviously in the real world, Carrie Fisher's passed away.
Yeah,
it's like these are changes you cannot make, and it would be terrible. So it's been very interesting seeing the ups and downs. I think some people are just like, the kind of movie I like is one that's awful. So maybe that's what they're about. So I don't know.
Maybe.
But feel free to get on our Facebook, and if you're listening to this, they'll still be there. So get on the Facebook and add your own things, and yes, please do. And I think that's us.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I always love kind of with obviously like, pinch of salt. I like the cooks. I remember there was a comic book series called like Infinite or whatever that Marvel came out and like. And then
I
it's
love
like,
those.
yeah, like kind of what would happen if, Leia went to the dark side or something like that. So those are always fun kind of things, as long as it doesn't turn into I will hire actors who can act. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You can definitely vocalize that, but it's just like, okay, you're kind of missing the assignment here, but fair enough. So, well, Sean, it has been an absolute pleasure. I have really enjoyed this. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking time to fly with me to lovely Bespin. And thank you for everybody listening. And we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for having me.